Well, hello and welcome to the Hey Boomer Show. My name is Wendy Green and I am your host for Hey Boomer. And at Hey Boomer, we are changing the conversation about retirement. Rather than seeing it as an ending, we see it as an opening, an exciting, new, and vibrant chapter, a time for exploration, self expression, and fulfillment. So, there are many ways that I can relate to my guest today, Penny Peyser. She has been a single mom. I've been a single mom. She has persevered in love and career. I think I have too. She has been a social activist as part of the actor strike and probably in other ways that I'm not aware of. She has had some amazing experiences like working with Dustin Hoffman, Robert Redford, Harrison Ford, Alan Arkin. Yeah, I can't really relate to those experiences. And she has faced ageism in her chosen profession of acting. And still, she keeps her sense of humor and her sense of creativity. And Penny has recreated herself as a poet and has developed a new performance persona. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun today when we talk to Penny. But before I bring her on, I want to talk about Rhodes Scholar, the not-for-profit leader in educational travel for boomers and beyond. You know, I have taken 4 trips with Rhodes Scholar, and every trip has been such an amazing experience. They take you, they handle everything, and you just show up, and you have wonderful food, and you have wonderful experiences, and you meet great friends. And I truly have made friends that are traveling with me again on my next trip, where we're going to Quebec in July. So let me encourage you to please check out all that Rhodes Scholar has to offer by going to roadscholar.org/heyboomer and support our sponsor as you plan your next trip. All right, let's meet Penny. Hello, Penny.
Good morning.
I'm
Good
so glad you.
night.
I know, but depending on where you are. Thanks for joining us today. Let me do a quick intro of
Okay.
your bio. So Penny Peyser is an actress, writer, documentary filmmaker, best known for Rich Man, Poor Man, All the President's Men, The Tony Randall Show, The Frisco Kid, Crazy Like a Fox, and Knots Landing. She has written, produced, and directed the award-winning feature documentary Trying to Get Good, the jazz odyssey of Jack Sheldon, and she did this with her husband, Doug McIntyre. She also wrote and directed and produced a documentary called Still Point, which is an intimate look inside a Northern California Zen meditation center. And then in June of 2023, thanks to the Sixth Act Theater Company, Lady Penelope, which is Penny's alter ego, was able to bring her obsession with iambic pentameter to the Hollywood Fringe Festival in her one-act play, Sonnets from Suburbia. Penny lives in Los Angeles, where she makes pizzas every Friday and does her best to spoil a couple of grandchildren while trying to keep her houseplants alive. Grandchildren are the best, aren't they?
The best.
I know. So let's start at the beginning, Penny. Can you tell me, like, why acting? What brought you to pursue acting as a career?
Well, I was very fortunate. I lived in New York in a suburb of the city, and my parents loved theater. And when I was 6 years old, I got to skip a day of kindergarten, and I went in for a matinee to see My Fair Lady, starring Julie Andrews and Rex Harrison.
Wow.
And I sat there and I looked at that and I said, I want to do that.
At kindergarten.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And
So parents can really, it's like, it's a lesson in, obviously, I don't think my dad took me because he wanted me to be an actress or anything. I was 6 and But he loved, musical theater, and they used to always they wisely would play all the records before we went to see a show. So we were very familiar with what we were going to see. And I don't know, just a
So
born
were they
idea.
encouraging once got old enough to start saying, I want to
They were
act?
encouraging, and I think they were very wise. It never occurred to me to try to be a child actor or anything. But had they were very much a believer of one should grow up and then go do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And it never occurred to me anyway. And living near Manhattan, had they been of that persuasion, I certainly could have done that. But they were, so I went through school and college, studying drama and acting in a lot of school plays. And then I launched my professional life.
So did you study theater in college?
Oh, I did. Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. And did you try to start in New York, or did you immediately go to LA?
Well, no, I was in New York. I graduated in 73, and that's 1973. And went to New York right away. And I was there for a little over 3 years. And yeah, I started my career there. Started doing, first I started in restaurants in some
Most actors, right?
eating establishments in the greater Manhattan area. Not the worst of which was called A Quiet Little Table in the Corner, which was in a downstairs pitch black restaurant where men brought their mistresses to have lunch.
Oh my gosh.
The upside is that you never got hit on, because the men who were there were already in so much trouble, they were not going to bother the waitresses. So there was that.
There was that.
Anyway, so I started there, and then I started working. I worked off Broadway into fantastic shows, and then I did a TV pilot in my first film when I was in New York, which was All the President's Men. It was shot in Washington, but I got cast out of New York.
That was a great film too.
And because I had off Broadway, it was kind of dead, and I couldn't get arrested on Broadway, apparently. And so I went out to Los Angeles for the summer in 1976, and I never came back.
Wow. So you've worked with some amazing actors.
Yeah.
Are there any favorites, any great stories you want to share with us?
Well, I would say, I'll mention Alan Arkin, who very sweet man who just passed, as I'm sure you all know. I mean, The In-Laws was just, it would be a dream for any actor. And Peter Falk, Alan Arkin, director Arthur Hiller. I mean, it was just very strange. And I'll just quickly say, the way I got cast in that, I auditioned, and atypically for me, I thought, wow, I'm really right for this part. I think I'm going to get cast. I did not get cast.
Oh.
And so I was like, oh, well, moving on. And then about 4 weeks later, I got beeped on my beeper.
Oh, that's no cell phones then.
Yeah, where I walked to a payphone to call my agent, and she said, she was all crazy, and you got to go to Warner. It was like 6 p.m. You got to go to Warner Brothers right now. They're replacing the girl who's playing Alan Arkin's daughter, and they need to do a wardrobe fitting, and you need to go to Warner Brothers right now. And I, dirty hair, not clean jeans, and I was like, all right. So I got in the car, went on to Warner Brothers, opened the door, and there was Alan and Arthur Hiller, and I was kind of like, and I said to Arthur, I said, I thought you were going to cast me. And he goes, I did too, and actually, I'll tell you who they cast, who you don't need to have a luncheon for or anything, because she's done just fine. Fran Drescher was who I.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you did great, and so was that All the President's Men, or that was In-Laws?
I'm sorry, that was The In-Laws.
The In-Laws, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All the President's Men. Well, we don't have to tell all my stories, but yeah, that was great. That was, a scene with Dustin Hoffman, the only man I'd ever cut out pictures of. That was pretty intimidating and great.
I bet. I mean, it's so funny for those of us on this side of the movie screen to think, wow, all of you actors and actresses, like no big deal. You all know each other. But as a young actress, that must have been very intimidating.
Oh, it was. It was. I just was like,
So how were they? Were they helpful? Did they encourage you?
oh, well, my scene in All the President's Men was essentially all improvised. And fortunately, I was comfortable with improvisation. My first professional job was with an improv company called The Proposition, which ran for many, many years in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So fortunately, I was comfortable with that. And it just happened that our little scene, because I'm only in the movie for 90 seconds, but as my little brother pointed that out, by the way, I never timed it. When my little brother saw it, it was 11.
I bet it took a lot longer to record it, though.
Oh, yes, it did. It took about 12 hours.
You get 90 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, I know. But the script was very dry. It was just a page, basically a page and change. And it was just basically, I was playing a secretary of Charles Colson's during the Watergate period. And the script was something like, did you know Howard Hunt? Yes, I know Howard Hunt. What was he like? Well, he was a nice man. So very dry dialogue. And so, very. And Alan Pakula, wonderful late director, in his wisdom, he said, why don't you improvise? And he whispered to each one of us, something to try. So neither one of us would. And it ended up being a very flirty scene. I refer to it as the only sex scene in All the President's Men. And we ended up playing footsie under the table.
With Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Dustin even said to Alan, he goes, look at our subtext.
That is so funny. How much fun that must have been.
I urge you to, it's on Criterion, it's on various, services, that movie all the time. So I'm in the first half hour. So check it out sometime.
Oh, it was a great movie. It was a great movie. And your part, I heard Bob Woodward interviewing you. I mean, he was in love with that. He was in love with your part. That was so cute.
He said that in his dating life, after that movie, he found out that women who would meet him were very disappointed he didn't look anything like Robert Redford. That was kind of tough. But he was just very enamored of the whole movie and the movie making process, and it was a good thing for him.
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you, Penny, was because you've reinvented yourself. But I wanted to, we're so aware, we see all the media about ageism in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And so can you tell me a little bit about how that has impacted your career and what you have done about it?
Well, I'll say that, I'm in my 70s. So when I was 40, I had my second child when I was days away from turning 40.
Oh, okay.
You just discover as an actress, I think, and I want to say that, having children and unfortunately going through divorces, I was a little distracted. I was not able, going through some of those difficulties, I was really not able to be laser focused on my career. That said, I was still pursuing my career and I was working, but it really started to get, especially after my second child, when I was absent for a number of months, the interviews just started getting fewer and fewer, farther and farther, fewer between.
Right. Yeah.
And the parts were getting smaller and smaller, and it started to be in television, guest star roles, which I used to do regularly, were starting to go to bigger and bigger names, celebrities. I mean, and so co-star roles sort of became the smaller roles you see on television.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they can't be worthwhile sometimes, was what I was going up for. And then that started, the older I got, that started to drive. So it just becomes it, and you suddenly turn around and you go, and I was doing plays and other stuff, but in terms of film and television stuff you would know about, just, started to be very long gaps. So I would say, I mean, yeah, ageism, yes, I guess in the sense that they don't write as many roles for older women as perhaps they do in England, where they don't seem to mind if you're older and look your age, by the way.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that.
Well, if you turn on British TV and stuff, you'll see a lot of very mature actresses and but you just don't see the scripts, and if and I found myself looking at TV, and I would very rarely see myself.
Right.
I'd
Yeah.
rarely go, oh, I wish I had auditioned for that, unless it was like Christine Lottie or a celebrity who was my age, and then I realized
Right.
there was I was not going to be chosen for that anyway. In fact, I think a lot of actresses my age have had the experience of being in an office for an audition for obviously an age appropriate role and hearing, I mean, this is really just one of those showbiz things, and hearing an assistant calling a celebrity's agent to see if they were to try to book
Yeah.
me for the role I was sitting there reading for.
Right.
That happened.
Yeah. A lot. Yeah. Yeah. We don't get it on this side, like in corporate America, we just don't get the interviews, right? They look at
Yeah,
your resume and they're like, oh, you graduated high school in 71? Oh, okay. You must be technologically unequipped for this job, but
right.
we don't get to hear, oh, I want Meryl Streep for this job, or,
Exactly, yeah, right.
we don't get to hear that. And so that has got to be really hard on your personal image, your psyche, how you feel about yourself.
Well, the first time it happened, I was, quite annoyed. Uh, but then the second and third time, after a while, you just start going, well, this is the way they're doing business. And I can't do anything about that. And then it just go on, Wendy. I can see
So
you.
there's the segue. You can't do anything about that. So you chose to take control of what you could control. So tell me about that.
Well, finally, I've always been interested in writing, and in terms of the rhyming thing, which I'm quite fond of, I had made mostly my whole life. I've written a lot of parody songs, especially for friends' birthdays. Never done anything professional with it, and then I haven't had the kind of mind so far where I think of a long story. If I did, and if I ever do, I'll let you know. But I love poems and I love songs. So about 12 years ago, I was in a Shakespearean acting class. I love Shakespeare, always have
Okay.
adored Shakespeare. And we had an assignment to go home and write a sonnet. So I went home and I dashed one off, and I was like, that was fun. So I kept writing, and I came back to class the next week with four. Only one he cared to have me read.
Okay.
And I just kept writing them. And then I got involved in a writing group, a class group, and so very shortly I had 100 sonnets, and then I started getting them published. And you can, there are many writing journals, there are many poetry journals, and one submits one's work and you get published or you don't. So I started getting published, and then I put a book together. This is still many years ago. I don't even remember what year that was. and started submitting it to publishers. I also started trying to get an agent, not really. I learned very quickly after 20 rejections, which is not a lot of rejections for
Yeah.
anyone, for
Mhm.
a writer, anyone who's doing anything like that. But I finally caught on, oh, agents don't want to represent poets because there's no money. There's no money in
Yeah.
poetry. And if you
Yeah.
look at super well-known poets, they all are professors almost. They
Yeah.
all are, because they, even though they've had, success in their field, you can't live on poetry with
I
very few
know.
exceptions. You can't.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's the way it is. And anyway, I finally,
Poetry feeds your soul, but not your wallet, right?
exactly. And, I like to think it can feed other people's souls,
Mhm. Mhm.
it's like entertain, I'm an entertainer. I really enjoy that. So, so anyway, I finally, I just decided this is absolutely crazy, and I wanted to write a performance piece that sort of would go hand in hand with a book. And I finally was like, I can't wait for Simon and his little dog Schuster.
That
And
darn little
penguins
dog.
can't read. Everyone knows that.
That's right.
So anyway, I decided to self-publish because even if Simon had picked up my book, it would be 2 years before it got published, and I
Right.
wanted to do this now. So I published my book, wrote this, piece, and oh, yes, look at
Sonnets from Suburbia, More
that,
Candles
from
and Cake.
Suburbia.
Yeah.
And anyway, and
And
then
so
my second book is gonna come out a little before Valentine's Day next year.
oh, then a new book.
A new book, Sonnets from Suburbia, Romance Dance.
Oh, well, this we'll have to look for that. This More Candles from Cake. This is where you came up with this lady Penelope.
Well, I actually came up with her, uh, what year was that? Prior to this book,
Oh,
I started doing poetry readings of my
uh-huh.
stuff and was enjoying it very much. And then one editor from a publishing house who had said, interesting, but not right for us, very generously gave me some advice and said, you're an actress and you say and your stuff is very performable. Why don't you try to get some kind of online presence doing your sonnets? And I
Okay.
was like, hmm. And somehow, because, Elizabethan sonnets, modern day topics, I don't know, I just thought it would be fun to dress up in an Elizabethan costume while spouting these things. And that's how. So I went to historicalcostumes.com and got
Uh-huh.
that outfit.
But then you had to come up with the persona of Lady Penelope.
Well,
So how
that
did you create her?
I think if you put this costume on Wendy, I think you would be her too.
Oh, you
Um,
think?
uh, it was just, I think the performance energy of doing these sonnets, kind of the way they manifest themselves in my body and voice, that just kind of became her. And I put the costume on, and then I was her. It's like that's the only way I can explain it, really. And then for my play, my producer directors, I mean, I just wanted to do this show where I was just kind of all funny and very superficial, frankly. I was going to be quite happy with that. Um, but they said, no, no, these are very good producers and writers. And they said, no, we'd really like to know, who is Lady Penelope? Why is she dressing like that? What's the deal? Because she's not living in Shakespeare's time. She's living now.
Right.
Why is she? So I had to come up with this whole thing. And I also made myself an agoraphobic who had not emerged from quarantine after the pandemic.
Oh,
So
no.
that's kind of my thing. And so, my audience is there and I say, thank you for coming. My doctor says this is the only way I can see people. And anyway, it was a great experience, and I'm going to be performing it ad nauseum as soon as I can get another gig. I'm going to go to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival August in Edinburgh, Scotland.
Fun.
I
Fun.
don't have my venue yet, but I will.
And people can see some of it on YouTube, right?
Yes.
Yes, you can go to
Please go to
youtube.com
YouTube. You can
and
join
you can.
dozens and dozens of people who have visited there.
There are so many cute ones there. Sonnets from Suburbia on YouTube. So go look for that and subscribe and like it and all that good stuff. And
Yeah, you'll get the idea. You'll very quickly understand.
you'll get some laughs. But I, I mean, you hear about all the character development and all that. So I had to ask you, like, well, what's her backstory? How did you develop her? You said, I just put on the costume.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you do talk to actors and they'll sometimes, not always, but sometimes putting on the costume just does something to your posture for good or ill. If you're playing a wicked witch, it might.
Yeah.
Richard III got that hump. There is, the costume is sort of the icing. I mean, you have to do a lot of other work normally. But since this is my own, little easier in a way, because
this is yours.
I am her, she is me. It's,
So would you be so kind as to read us a few of the sonnets?
Sure.
Well, I have a few favorites.
Okay, I'll read your favorites. Then I may do one that perhaps
do one of your favorites. So I really liked that one about the no internet.
Oh, okay.
Because I think we can all relate to that.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. Pardon me for not knowing this one by heart, but
okay.
The internet is out and I am crazed. I cannot post. I cannot pay my bills. Not long ago, I wouldn't have been fazed. Those days are gone. I'm reaching for my pills. I won't watch anything that isn't streaming. The husband and myself would have to talk. And I'm afraid we two could end up screaming. To calm ourselves, may need to take a walk. The mighty web doth dominate our lives. Without it, must I leave my home to shop? It's been an hour. I'm breaking out in hives. Our domicile has grounded to a stop. We're isolated, frightened, all alone. My God, I might need to pick up the phone.
Everybody, you all can relate to that. Everybody listening. I love that one. That's great. Thank you. How about, because I said in the opening, you and I have been single parents and we have persevered through love. So how about the one about husbands?
Okay. I mean, what are these life experiences worth if you can't turn them into a little something, a story, a remembrance, your special curse word, something. We all get something. It's funny how at the time, I mean, divorce is just a horrible thing, and the pain you go through. I don't care if you're having an amicable divorce. I keep wanting to talk to those people. I mean, in the time, it's horrible. And then as there's more time between you and the event, then you can joke on it. Then you can have some perspective, and the pain is a memory. But you have to get some distance from it to write a poem about it, for example.
So you do, and to have a sense of humor about it.
Yes. I mean, I've been known for having no sense of humor whatsoever.
When you're going through that.
Yes, exactly. Okay, this is called Husband 1 or 2 or 3. Oh, was it husband 1 or 2 or 3 who taught me properly to cook a fish while pointing out the dimple in my knee and promising that he'd fulfill my wish? Oh, was it husband 3 or 2 or 1 who loved chorizos in his scrambled eggs, loved more to dwell in pure oblivion, just thinking of the space between my legs? Oh, was it husband 1 or 3 or 2 who hurled a cup and saucer at my head as curses, screaming, ranting all round flew? Yes, certainly he wished that I was dead. From dreams I have awakened and can see my soul's salvation was in number 3.
Aw, I am glad you have found number 3.
Yes, I didn't think that was going to happen. I
Yeah.
was quite resigned. I was quite sanguine about, well, the jury's in. I cannot pick a husband. I have my boys. I'm sure I'll date. I don't hate men, but
Yeah.
and then I got married.
There you go. Well, I haven't gotten there yet, but I can certainly relate to I have my kids.
Well, it can happen, Wendy.
It can happen.
Can
You
happen.
never know.
No, you really don't. You really don't.
So your sense of humor is just fabulous, Penny, and I'm sure it has served you well through some of these challenges. Can you talk to me about that a little bit?
About
About
how,
where that comes from and how you find it.
wow, I don't even know how to answer that. I think I've become more humorous as I've aged.
Mm.
I guess I'll say that. I mean, I've always been these are my reading glasses. Suddenly Wendy is
You
like,
can't see me now.
I think I really, as I've gotten older, and also my as Doug calls me, my current wife, my current husband, he is very funny, and he really, I mean, we have a lot of laughs, and he really, not that I've always had a sense of humor, but he really kind of brought out my inner comedian and writer. I mean, he's a writer, as you know, and I don't know, creating things became possible when I got together with Doug, because he's a creator, and we did 2 documentaries. We've each written a book. And none of that kind of thing would have been possible previously. I was too preoccupied with oh, sorry. That's me. My phone is off, but my computer somehow wants to ding me. Anyway.
Okay. We'll just cut that part out.
Oh, sorry. Anywho, it just developed. It's developed later in life. It just really has. It's been a gift of being more mature and letting something in me that always wanted to get out.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I can
Well,
say.
yeah. So it seems like it has really, broadened your horizons. Some of this with the sonnets. You've been able to tap into that part of you. Talk to me about the sonnets for a minute, like that iambic pentameter. Explain that. How that
Okay.
works.
Iambic pentameter, I have only William Shakespeare to thank. He didn't invent it, but that's how most of us, if we're familiar with Shakespeare at all, that's how most of us know iambic pentameter. And an iamb is a foot of meter. So iambic pentameter, 5 feet. It's da dump, da dump, da dump, da dump, da dump. In fact, I have a sonnet called How to Write a Sonnet.
Oh, yeah?
I'll do it for you really quickly, only because I think it explains what you're asking me a little better.
Okay.
Dear friends, I'll teach you how to write a sonnet. A sonnet? No, I'm going to start over, dear friends. But dear friends, I'll teach you how to write a sonnet. Elizabethan is what I prefer. 'Twas good enough for Shakespeare. Let's get on it. 'Tis most familiar. Scholars would concur. 3 quatrains and a couplet's all you need, with alternating rhymes, save for the end. Add iambic pentameter, indeed, da dump, da dump, da dump, like heartbeats penned. All subjects are fair game, so fear ye not. Your muse can take the playing field at will. Observe the form most strictly to the dot, or lack of grace will follow from your quill. Do not begrudge the boundaries of meter, for rhyme and rhythm make this life much sweeter.
Okay, so now everybody listening knows how to write a sonnet. I expect to see sonnets in the quotes in the comments here. So we've had some lovely comments. So they're loving this. She says, Susan says, oh, she's great. Janice says, Lady Penelope is such a clever idea. Well done, Penny.
Thank you, lady.
And Steve says this very specific structure of sonnets is interesting. Those were great.
Thank
So
you.
yeah,
It's fun to have to write in, in a form. And I have a little rant in my show about, free verse is the fashion these days.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Spoken word poetry.
Yeah. So I mean, it's hard to find publications that will accept rhyming poetry. I mean, they're very snobby about that. And sonnets, I really have to choose my shots I mean, there really are a lot of places that say no rhyming.
And that's all that we learned growing up, was rhyming poetry.
Oh yeah, and nursery rhymes.
Right, that's
Where
right.
our childhoods be.
I know.
But rappers are in sync with me on this, because where would rap be without rhyme and rhythm?
All right, so I want to hear Lady Penelope rapping next time.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't. I'll save it for next time. I actually have a whole rap song in my show, but I'll say.
Do you really?
Yes, I do.
All right. I hope you put it on YouTube, or you come to South Carolina and perform it here.
I would love to. That's really what I want to do, is go
travel around.
Yeah, I really do.
All right. So we've got, anybody have any ins with theaters? Let's get in touch with Penny.
Don't need a big space.
Yeah.
Great traveling show. I got a bag of props and my sonnet wheel. I have a sonnet wheel that I use. I do that at bookstores too when I'm doing a signing or something. It's like a prize wheel. You spin it. I have someone in the audience come up and spin it, and whatever sonnet it lands on, that's the one I perform. So.
Oh, that's fun.
It is fun. It's a lot of fun.
So Penny, what keeps you inspired and motivated?
What keeps me inspired and motivated? Well,
besides Doug.
Well, at this point, I really do love this writing form. I really, I found it and I'm sticking to it right now. And I just want to keep writing better ones and putting it out there. I love I love having something that I can, like a book that I can hold in my hand. I mean, acting is very ephemeral. If you're on film, yes, it's preserved forever. Sometimes you wish it wasn't, but it is. It's just out there. I mean, people, I get little notes from someone, I saw you on Barnaby Jones last night. I'm like, oh.
I don't even, really? Are they still playing that?
Oh, sometimes sometimes, I'm proud of some stuff I've done. And there's other stuff, other stuff is like, I wish that had been a play, then it would just be gone.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think it's just because I'm really enjoying writing these things. I'm enjoying how they seem to be playing in front of people. I mean, I was so gratified to perform these and have people respond to them. I mean, it's just a great feeling. So that's why I'm doing it.
Well, Doris wants to get you to come here to Greenville, so Doris will have to work
Fabulous.
on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Susan. Retirement facilities.
Right. Yeah.
My audience.
Susan says you're so young from the inside out.
Oh, thank you.
That's so sweet, much. Susan. So
I take my
right. No, it's your energy, Penny. You have this vibrancy about you and this smile about you that just radiates through. So it's it's
I guess
lovely.
That's a gift from my folks. And my grandchildren too. Not that I just got it when they came on the scene. The oldest one's 3.5, but they really, we all know this. It's such a cliche. I mean, they just keep
great.
you young. And I didn't want to be a grandmother who couldn't get down on the floor. Right. I'm not the youngest grandmother in the world, but God willing, I've been healthy and I work at it. So as long as I can keep it up. That's what
Yeah.
we're all trying to do. But that's, I mean, gosh, you just have to be around those little people and
I know, it's
just
true. Yeah. So takeaways. If you were to talk to my audience about, how do you persevere? How do you come back from the setbacks of, Hollywood says you're too old, or how would you advise people to persevere in this next stage of life?
Well, I think it's focusing on something, or maybe realizing for the first time, who knows, something that really makes you joyful. Because, I'm proud of my book, but I'm not going to get rich on my book of sonnets. I'm not being negative. Because if I became a bestseller, I still,
Don't
you
get
know,
rich on books
so,
typically, right?
so and I'm very fortunate. I have a pension from the Screen Actors Guild, but that's not enough either. But um, I think the thing is finding something joyful. If there's something that you love doing, and whether or not you want to make a business out of it, that's up to you. That's because God knows. I mean, look at you. This is what you've done.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, you could give a very comprehensive talk on this subject, far better than me. So really, I guess that's just my answer. It's like, I obviously I'm still an actress. I haven't been on television in 3 years, I guess, but except in reruns. But, you know,
But you have your play and you
yeah,
have your sonnets.
I can
So,
do I can do what I can do what I love, you know?
and I think that's important. I do think that's important in this next stage to find what you love. So
Yeah.
the book is called Sonnets from Suburbia, More Candles Than Cake. And apparently there's a new one coming out in February. Oh, let me just say, Judy says, kudos to you, Penny. I love your book. I feel honored to have grown up with you. Oh,
Oh,
hi,
wow.
Judy.
Judy, I wonder, well, I can think of one Judy that might be, but is that
Okay.
Judy McCormick? I
Yes, it
don't.
is.
Is
It is.
it?
It is.
I
So you can go to Penny's website at pennypeiser, Peyser.com.
You can buy
And
my book there, or you could buy it on Amazon.
okay. And you can follow her on Instagram at penpeiser. And like I said earlier, check it out on YouTube. Go look for Sonnets from Suburbia on YouTube and continue with the smiles and the chuckles that you gave us by reading yours. Thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, thank you for having me, Wendy. This was a ton of fun.
So much fun, Penny. So much fun. I loved it. Um, I love all the comments that our listeners share when they're watching live. It's
That's very
just
nice.
so exciting. I love that. And I just want to share a comment that I got from a listener from the Buy Me a Coffee. She says, I love the Hey Boomer show. The guests are great for people looking to transition from full-time work to an enriching later life. Wendy is a fantastic interviewer who lets her guests talk. Thank you.
You are?
The shows are informative and diverse. I hope she gets a lot of support for the boomer believers. And you too can become a boomer believer by going to buymeacoffee.com/heyboomer0413. So I hope you will join that. Thank you. And also check out Road Scholar, and when
That
you're
sounds
thinking,
cool.
they do a great job with trips, and I'm so
Wow.
impressed with them. So it's roadscholar.org/heyboomer. Go check them out. Plan your next adventure. And who's coming up next week? Next week, my guest is a woman named Donna Fries, and she is a fascinating and inspiring woman. She's an author, a professor emeritus of Cypress College, a social advocate for women and children. She retired in 2010, and she has found so many wonderful and intriguing activities to become involved in that she cannot believe she was so terrified to retire. So join me on Monday, November 13th to meet Donna and get inspired by her outlook on life. just like we got inspired by you, Penny. This was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
And continue to embrace this time of your life with exploration, self-expression, and fulfillment. My name is Wendy Green, and this has been Hey Boomer.